Okay, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive, where we take some truly unique source material and, well, we pull out the actionable wisdom, the insights, and sometimes the sheer philosophical brilliance hidden inside.
And today's source is definitely unique.
Oh, absolutely. Today, we are diving into excerpts from a book called The Legend Mind. It's authored by SKR, who goes by the alias Legend.
Right.
And this isn't just a manual, it feels more like a radical blueprint for internal transformation. We're going to focus on one of the most surprising chapters, how to speak and lead in, of all places, the political arena.
It's an extraordinary work. I mean,
Right.
the paradox at its heart is what makes it so compelling.
The paradox.
Yeah, when you look at the source material we have, the sheer scope of it is just staggering. The author sets the stage in the preface, claiming this interdisciplinary approach that tackles everything from zero to infinity.
Zero to infinity, that's a bold claim.
It is. We're talking about disciplines like science, math, religious philosophy, idioms, physics, numbercorology, cosmology, geography. And it's a genuine attempt at, a comprehensive knowledge system.
And all of it is centered around what?
Unlocking mind power. That's the core concept.
Then I think what really sets this deep dive apart is the spiritual grounding. We have to talk about that because it's crucial context.
Absolutely. The book is dedicated to the Lord Shiva, and it's inspired by the author's immortal guru.
Right. And the author's motivation for even writing this is a desire to live a life with zero attraction of the world. The author, Sanu Kumar, actually undertook a journey of living alone to find answers to his own questions.
He was specifically seeking detachment. And that phrase, zero attraction of the world, that is the key. It's the key to understanding all the political advice we're about to dissect. Well, it means operating from a place that's, free of ego, free of material or emotional desire. The focus is only on service and on truth. And this spiritual anchor, it informs every single practical piece of advice the legend gives.
Okay, hold on. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So you're telling me we have a spiritual text written by a seeker who lived alone, focused on detachment.
Yes.
And that is the source for this highly disciplined, principled communication advice for the highly attached world of politics.
That's it. Exactly.
That contrast alone is worth exploring. I mean, that's fascinating.
Absolutely. The wisdom we are discussing today, it comes directly out of that journey of self-realization. Specifically, we are focusing on Unit 1, which is titled 10 Shades of the Legend.
10 Shades.
10 Shades. And the promise of this unit is monumental. It says it teaches you, the listener, how to master 10 different professions or characters in a single lifetime by observing the social environment of our society and the world, and then extracting what he calls the central activity of these roles. So the legend sees the political role not as, a corrupting influence, but as one of 10 essential archetypes of mastery.
And our target shade, the one we are zeroing in on, is Chapter 8, Speak Like a Politician.
That's the one.
So this is the central activity the author gleaned from observing the social environment. Our deep dive mission today is to dissect this chapter line by line, almost like we're breaking down the character arc of a principled hero in a movie.
I like that framing.
Yeah, to reveal the core principles for mastering public communication and political leadership. This chapter, it really takes the often cynical view of political rhetoric and just completely flips it on its head.
It truly does. It sets a standard that it transcends the tactical and really enters the realm of the philosophical.
So let's jump right into that reframing. The author begins Chapter 8 with this core thesis that immediately defines political speaking in a, well, highly idealistic way. The text says, speaking like a politician is a complex and nuanced exercise.
Right. And then it immediately clarifies what it isn't.
Exactly. The original phrasing is a little bit awkward. It says it's not about being stick or insincere.
Oh.
How should we interpret that phrasing? What does stick mean here?
I think if we interpret stick or insincere in the context of this spiritual foundation, stick probably means rigid, brittle, or formulaic. It's about maintaining absolute authenticity and integrity, an unyielding commitment to principle. The politician's word must be reliable, not brittle or artificial.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that reframe is so critical because it immediately sets a very high, almost philosophical standard for the profession. Instead of focusing on manipulation or, rhetorical tricks.
Which is what everyone thinks of.
Right. The author defines political communication in terms of its highest possible function, understanding and channeling public wisdom.
That concept, public wisdom, feels like it's doing a lot of heavy lifting here. It suggests that the politician's job isn't to tell people what to think.
Right.
but to articulate what they already know they need. So how does the source material then break down what this complex political wisdom actually entails?
It's a profound shift in focus. The text analyzes the components you need to achieve this political wisdom. First, it requires balancing competing interests.
Which is fundamentally difficult.
Incredibly difficult,
Yeah.
especially in large, diverse societies. You're constantly juggling priorities where, a success for one group might feel like a failure to another. The wisdom is in how you manage that tension.
So it's not about winning an argument, it's more about managing the entire ecosystem of conflicting needs.
Exactly. And furthermore, it demands building consensus, not just commanding compliance or imposing a will, but genuinely bringing disparate groups together under a single banner.
And the third part.
And finally, it requires communicating a vision that serves the greater good. And you have to note the emphasis there. The greater good. Not the good of the party or the good of the politician's personal career.
That sounds less like a politician vying for power and more like an orchestra conductor,
How so?
trying to bring all the disparate instruments into harmony for a collective piece of music. The success is measured by the quality of the overall performance, not the volume of any single instrument.
That is a perfect analogy for the legend's vision. The author insists that the required traits for this kind of communication are pragmatism, foresight, and a profound understanding.
Pragmatism, foresight, and profound understanding.
What's fascinating here is that the author immediately elevates the politician from that negative stereotype, the one who manipulates or exploits fear, to a kind of philosopher king. Someone focused entirely on the collective ethical goal. It's an exercise in public leadership as a form of applied ethics, which must be consistently and consciously practiced.
I have to challenge this, though. Is this a practical manual, or is it just a utopian blueprint? I mean, in the modern political movie, the hero is often the one who speaks loudest and fights dirtiest. How can a politician, guided by zero attraction, possibly succeed in that environment?
And that is the ultimate tension, isn't it? But the legend addresses it by providing a framework so strong that it becomes its own tactical advantage.
How does that work?
If you lead from a place of pure, long-term integrity, your actions become your defense. If you can actually achieve those three required traits, pragmatism, foresight, profound understanding, you move past the need for rhetoric alone.
You don't need the tricks.
You don't.
Yeah.
You have the ability to see the future implications of today's actions, which is the definition of foresight, and you can communicate it in a way that resonates with everyone, which is pragmatism. This brings us directly to the actionable core of this chapter, the 4 principles that define how this wise figure actually speaks.
Okay, so these 4 points aren't just suggestions. They form the operational code of the intelligent politician we'll discuss later. They are the rules of engagement.
Precisely.
The first principle is foundational. It sets the tone for all communication. Speak to the common ground. The core idea here is that a wise politician actively avoids focusing on divisions. They speak out and speak to the shared values, aspirations, and hope of the populace.
This is a highly disciplined approach to rhetoric. It involves using language that deliberately unites rather than polarizes.
So you're actively looking for the thing everyone agrees on.
Yes. Think of it as deliberately searching for the highest common denominator in any public discussion. And it requires incredible restraint, because division is often the quickest path to immediate political gain.
Right. Fear and anger are powerful motivators.
They are. But the wise politician has to resist that. They must instead focus the audience's attention on the area of overlap, the shared goals everyone agrees on. Safety, prosperity, opportunity for their children.
But the text is careful to add an important clarification here. It says this isn't about ignoring differences, which are obviously real in any complex society.
Of course.
People have different needs, different histories. It's about finding a common mission or purpose that can bring diverse groups together. How does one achieve that balance between acknowledging difference while simultaneously uniting?
That's the strategic brilliance of this principle, and it's where the wisdom is applied. Ignoring differences would be, well, naive and dishonest.
It wouldn't work.
It wouldn't. Transcending them through a shared purpose, however, is wisdom. For example, people may disagree passionately about how to achieve economic stability, tax rates, subsidies, regulation. But nearly everyone agrees on the fundamental value of stable employment and a secure future for their family.
So let's start there.
The wise politician starts and ends the discussion with that shared value. The Thorst defines wisdom in this context specifically as the ability to see the interconnectedness of all people and to articulate a vision that benefits the collective.
So if you can articulate a goal, say national security or economic prosperity or even just civic pride, that is clearly beneficial to everyone, regardless of their background, you unify them under that mission.
Exactly.
This requires profound self-discipline, though. You have to continually elevate the conversation above the temporary partisan skirmishes. It demands the speaker view the political arena not as a zero-sum game, but as a collaborative effort toward a shared future.
And this principle is highly actionable, even outside of politics. In any complex negotiation or team leadership role, the successful leader doesn't spend time detailing why the departments are failing or fighting each other.
No, that just creates more division.
Right. They articulate the shared victory condition, the goal that makes every single person, regardless of their silo, indispensable. It's a mechanism for eliminating resentment and fear by focusing energy outward toward the goal, rather than inward toward internal conflict.
Okay, so that's the first principle, unity. The second principle moves us from the present moment to the horizon. Speak with a long-term vision.
And this is where the contrast between leadership styles truly sharpens. It gives this part of the chapter a clear narrative contrast, to use your movie analogy.
How so?
The text sets up a dichotomy. A savvy politician may focus on the next election, the immediate short-term gain, but a wise one thinks in terms of generations.
That distinction is crucial. It's the difference between being transactional and being transformational.
That's a great way to put it. A savvy politician focuses on visible, immediate problems that can generate quick wins, social media applause, and, favorable poll numbers right before the election.
They're optimizing for the next quarter.
Exactly. A wise politician, however, addresses the underlying systemic issues that may take decades to resolve. These are projects whose full benefits won't be realized until they are long out of office, perhaps even dead.
So if the savvy politician fixes the leaky roof right before the rain comes,
Yep.
the wise politician redesigns the entire foundation of the house, even if it means temporary discomfort for the people living inside.
Precisely. They're willing to undertake projects that require massive political self-sacrifice. Think about huge infrastructure improvements, or sustainable energy shifts, or educational reform that changes outcomes 20 years down the line.
These are massive foundational projects.
They are. And the source material gives concrete examples of this desired legacy. They talk about leaving behind a healthier environment, a more just society, or a stronger economy for future generations.
This connects back beautifully to the book's overall philosophy of thinking from zero to infinity. This principle is about transcending the cycle of short-term gains for long-term stability and prosperity.
It is.
It requires foresight, which the author listed earlier as a prerequisite. But let's just pause and consider the difficulty here. To make decisions today that might be unpopular or whose benefits aren't immediately obvious simply because they are essential for the survival and flourishing of the people who come next, that runs counter to political survival in most democracies.
It absolutely does. And this is why that spiritual grounding we talked about is so vital.
The zero attraction.
The zero attraction of the world. If the politician is operating from that place, the loss of a vote or even an election is not a personal failure. Their mandate is not to retain power. Their mandate is to serve the long-term collective good. This framework establishes the ultimate ethical mandate, prioritizing unborn generations over one's own immediate political survival.
So the long-term vision becomes the litmus test. It's how you know if a politician is truly focused on service or on self-preservation.
That's the test.
Okay. Moving on to the third principle, we return to the human element, but with a highly strategic purpose. Speak with empathy and acknowledgement.
Yes. A wise politician understands that people need to feel heard. They must acknowledge the pain, the frustration, the challenges people face.
This feels like a key trust-building step, maybe the most important one in establishing credibility with your constituents.
It is. If a politician immediately jumps to solutions or, policy points without first acknowledging the reality of the people they serve, the trauma, the economic insecurity, the fear, the communication fails instantly because it creates an emotional deficit. People will not accept your logical solution if they feel you haven't recognized their emotional pain.
So this principle acts as the bridge. It transforms the detached policymaker into a relatable leader.
And crucially, the nuance here is fascinating. The source explicitly says they validate concerns without necessarily agreeing with every point. This is a very sophisticated psychological move.
Right, because most politicians mistakenly think that empathy means agreeing with the complaint.
They do, but the legend suggests otherwise. Empathy doesn't equate to agreement on the facts or the proposed solution. It equates to understanding the emotional root of the concern.
Can you give an example of that? Distinguishing validation from agreement?
Sure. You can say, I recognize the immense fear and anxiety this change is causing in your community, and I hear your frustration, even if you fundamentally believe the policy is necessary for the long-term good.
Which links back to Principle B, the long-term vision.
Exactly. The wise politician solves the emotional deficit first, which then allows them to lead the constituent toward a solution they might initially fear.
By demonstrating empathy, the politician proves they are not just a detached figure, but one who genuinely understands the human condition and the struggles of their constituents. It humanizes the whole political process.
And it serves a pragmatic purpose. When you acknowledge the pain, you take the heat out of the emotional response. Once the constituent feels seen, they are much more likely to listen to the difficult logic of the policy that follows. This principle is the foundation of relational leadership, transforming the relationship from adversarial to collaborative.
It's the bridge.
It's the bridge between the speaker's long-term vision and the audience's present reality.
Okay. So finally, the fourth principle governs the delivery and the demeanor. Speak with a measured tone to all. The politician must maintain a calm and measured demeanor, especially in the heat of debate. This is the ultimate anti-drama approach.
This principle is a direct instruction to avoid the sensationalist trap that defines so much of modern discourse. The politician must not resort to personal attacks or inflammatory rhetoric.
No shouting matches.
No. The source is very clear. The true power of an argument stems from reason and conviction, not from volume or aggression.
It suggests that volume or aggression is actually a sign of weakness,
That's it.
a lack of confidence in one's own position or facts. If you truly believe your policy will benefit future generations, you don't need to shout down your opponent. The facts should speak for themselves.
Precisely. A measured tone conveys strength, control, and internal stability, the kind that comes from the legend's spiritual foundation. It signals that the speaker is focused entirely on the issues and the long-term mission, rather than on the drama or their personal ego.
It's a sign of a leader who is confident in their position and inherently respectful of their opponents, even when disagreeing fiercely.
They are treating the debate not as a personal fight, but as a collective process toward refining the best outcome for the nation.
So if we look at the four principles together, unity, long-term vision, empathy, and measured tone, they describe a communicator who is operating at the absolute highest level of intellectual and emotional maturity. It's a recipe for, well, political transcendence.
It really is.
And if those four principles define how the legend speaks, the next section of the chapter defines the three types of politicians that result from either mastering or failing those principles.
This is a fantastic transition because it shows us the legend's observations crystallized into these practical behavioral models. The author refers back to a previous chapter, chapter 6, where leaders were categorized in a similar way.
And he applies a parallel structure here to politicians based on their work-to-talk ratio.
Exactly.
Okay, let's run through them. Pay attention to the unique language the author uses to describe their failure modes.
First up, we have the weak politicians. They are defined as too talkative and show no any work.
So their output is zero, despite maximum noise.
They are essentially pure rhetoric machines, masters of spectacle but completely devoid of substance.
Okay. Then there are the strong politicians. The author says they work, but give more time as debate on past work.
Right, so they are effective workers, but they get consumed by defending their record. They spend all their time looking in the rearview mirror, trying to prove their past value, rather than looking ahead to the future.
They're stuck in the past. Yeah.
And finally, the category the author champions and focuses on, the intelligent politician.
And how are they defined?
The legend defines them as those who only work, who not waste his time on talk, and no debate on that work they done for himself or his society.
That distinction, no debate on that work they done, is radical. It implies that once the work is done, it stands for itself, and arguing about it is a waste of vital energy that should be conserved for future action.
Exactly. The intelligent politician is the ideal application of the four communication principles we just discussed. They are the only category the author chooses to focus on, as they are known for working exclusively for the welfare of society.
So they are the ultimate embodiment of that long-term vision.
Yes. This type of politician embodies the notion of pure effectiveness, where action entirely replaces retrospective defense or empty rhetoric.
So if the intelligent politician is the goal, what are their specific characteristics beyond just working? The text mentions their communication style involves bold voices and knowing each and every word meaning in their mind.
This refers directly to the precision and the measured tone required for the four principles. Their language is intentional, precise, and powerful. A bold voice rooted in conviction, not in volume.
So they speak only when necessary.
And when they do, every single word is weighed and deliberate. They apply these carefully chosen words to their followers in smart way and balanced condition. It's about surgical, effective communication that maintains equilibrium and purpose.
You want to make sure the message lands exactly as intended without causing unnecessary polarization or emotional reaction.
That's the goal.
But here's where it gets really interesting. And this, to go back to the movie analogy, this is the core plot twist of the intelligent politician's character arc, the non-reaction strategy.
Yes.
They employ a behavioral strategy that seems completely counterintuitive to modern political survival. They allow free-form abuse, word from opposite side.
This is the ultimate test of their internal stability, which links right back to the spiritual foundations of the legend mind. The intelligent politician effectively weaponizes silence.
But why allow abuse?
Because the intelligent politician knows that an abused single word not define the chapter of his life.
With respect, the notion of allowing free-form abuse goes against every modern rule of crisis communication and reputation management. Doesn't this put the intelligent politician at a massive tactical disadvantage in a 247 media cycle where silence is so often interpreted as guilt?
That is precisely the challenge, isn't it? But the Legends framework offers a profound rebuttal to that. The intelligent politician is operating on a different metric of success.
What do you mean?
If they are truly operating from a place of zero attraction of the world, they are detached from the need for external validation or defense. Their internal state is not reliant on the media narrative. Their actions, which are geared toward the long-term collective good, that's their defense.
That is profound. It's a complete rejection of allowing external drama to dictate their internal state or their agenda. It means the only thing that matters is the work itself.
Absolutely. The author provides a direct, vivid example. If called theft and corrupt politician, the intelligent politician won't react.
They don't engage.
They don't engage in the debate over past work. The rationale is simple and powerful. If they have done positive work for his society, they not fear of opposition party who attempt to frame them wrongly. Their defense is their record, which they believe is sufficient, robust, and visible to the people they serve.
So all their energy is preserved for future positive action, not wasted on defensive debate.
Exactly.
So if the weak politician is all talk and no work, and the strong politician is half work and half debate, the intelligent politician is 100% work and 0% reaction.
That's the model.
It's the ultimate expression of the measured tone. They are so confident in their internal truth and their external impact that opposition noise becomes irrelevant static, a distraction beneath their notice. This radical strategy defines the character of the legend's hero politician.
And this leads directly into the distinction the legend makes between the general concept of leadership and the specific static nature of the political role. Because if the role is static and defined entirely by work, non-reaction becomes logical.
Okay, so this dedication to a defined singular role leads us to a key conceptual distinction the author draws between the broader term leader and the specific role of politician. The author actually uses linguistic analysis to set this up.
It does. It anchors the conceptual difference in cultural understanding. The source notes the Hindi form of the word for politician is Rajyaneta,
Rajyaneta,
which means leader of the state, city, or nation. And this is distinguished from just Neta, which simply means leader. This linguistic clarification sets the stage for the conceptual difference in scope and dimension. You're moving from a general function to a specific professional calling.
So how does the author detail that conceptual difference between the two? We have the general leader on one side.
The leader, or Neta, is described as a multidimensional form and is inherently dynamic. Leaders exist in different organizations with multidimensional form and variety. You can have a leader in a business, a family, a religious group, a scientific field.
And the skills are different for each.
Completely. Their leadership scope and the skills required change dramatically depending on the organization they inhabit. A CEO needs dynamic skills related to market shifts. A military leader needs dynamic skills related to strategy. They are defined by context and by change.
But the politician, the Rajyaneta, is a different creature altogether.
Yes. The politician is described as one shade or sub-branch of leader. They are one-dimensional and static as a specific profession. The author lists them alongside professions like teacher, professor, engineer, doctor, and scientist.
Why are they static? Why that word?
Because their core job description is strictly defined, working for society welfare, chosen by the people of the nation for nation welfare.
So the purpose, unlike a business leader whose purpose might shift from profit generation to brand stabilization, is fixed. The mandate is always the welfare of the people who chose them.
Exactly. The politician is static because their ethical obligation, their job description, never changes. They are like a doctor whose purpose is always to heal, regardless of the patient or the disease. The tools and the specific problems may change, but the core mandate remains fixed on the nation's welfare.
This is a crucial point that ties back into the measured tone and the non-reaction strategy.
Hus-
Well, if the politician's role is static and one-dimensional, to work for the welfare of the society that chose them, then everything else, including personal attacks and debates about past work, is irrelevant noise. It's a distraction that pulls them away from that core static duty. The intelligent politician only focuses on the unchanging single dimension of their purpose.
Precisely. The core belief is that while all professions need a leader within them to coordinate the work, the politician is a profession, narrowly defined by working for the people and the nation. Their focus must remain laser-sharp on that singular mandate.
So any attempt to make the role dynamic
By seeking external validation, pursuing profit, or engaging in personal feuds.
is a failure of the profession itself. It turns the intelligent politician into merely a strong or a weak one.
And this structure offers a powerful intellectual defense for the non-reaction strategy. Noise doesn't matter when your job description is fixed on action. This also reinforces the idea of political self-sacrifice that's inherent in the long-term vision. Because the role is static, the focus is entirely on the collective, not the advancement of the individual political actor.
Okay, so this singular focus on the work and the dismissal of the personal drama, it all culminates in the legend's final mandatory rule, a universal suggestion to all politicians globally regarding ethical conduct. This feels like the ultimate professional boundary.
It's the capstone of the chapter's ethical framework, and it applies the principle of dignity to the cutthroat political environment. It's a very simple yet powerful rule. Never tell someone negative character of their personal life.
Wow. So the legend is demanding that even in the heat of a high-stakes adversarial political campaign, the gloves are not supposed to come off when discussing personal character flaws.
That's the rule.
That seems almost impossibly idealistic in the modern era.
It is idealistic, but the rationale is highly practical within the legend's framework. The focus must be exclusively on their work. Is it right or wrong, effective or ineffective? The discussion must never be taken in personal ways.
And this rule applies both ways.
Both ways. It applies to the politician speaking and the politician being spoken about. It forces the debate back to the static, one-dimensional mandate of the profession, nation welfare.
What is the ethical rationale behind this strict separation of professional work and private life? Why is this boundary so critical to the legend?
The author grounds this in fundamental human dignity. It connects the practical political advice right back to the spiritual reality of the world. The rationale is that both sides, the politician and their opponent, belong to the humans group, and all humans have their own dignity to live in freedom and independent way.
So therefore,
While the politician is allowed to talk about the work, the policies, the budgets, the laws, the personal life is private for anyone in the world.
this is such a radical demand for professional conduct in a modern political environment where everything about a figure's personal life is considered fair game,
It is.
often as a mechanism to distract from policy failures.
And that distraction is the key. By forbidding personal attacks, the legend forces the public discourse to remain anchored to the long-term vision, Principle B, and the 4 core communication rules. If you cannot attack the person, you are required to attack the policy or the track record of work.
Which is a much harder, more constructive form of debate.
It is. This mechanism prevents the political process from devolving into emotional warfare, which is exactly what the measured tone principle seeks to avoid. The wisdom of political communication, in this author's view, hinges on respect for the human condition and maintaining absolute focus on collective work rather than individual flaws.
It protects the integrity of the profession itself.
So what does this all mean? The legend is advocating for a professional, ethical approach to political debate that entirely separates performance, the static job description, from personhood, the private, dignified individual.
And that separation is key.
It's key to maintaining the balanced condition required of the intelligent politician. allowing them to remain detached, focused, and effective. It's the ultimate defense against the attraction of the world.
It paints a picture of a political arena where the stakes are incredibly high for the society, but the personal ego stakes for the politician are zero. That is the only way to sustain the four principles and the non-reaction strategy.
It's the only way.
This deep dive has shown us that speaking like a politician, according to the legend mind, is, well, far removed from the commonly held negative stereotype. It is a framework built on ethical unity, long-term vision, genuine empathy, and a disciplined, measured delivery.
The goal isn't just winning the day.
No, it's securing the welfare of future generations.
We learn that leadership is categorized by the ratio of work to talk. The intelligent politician is defined by action and their capacity for that radical non-reaction strategy absorbing abuse without consuming energy in defense, because their positive record is deemed sufficient armor.
And this is only achievable because the role of the politician, the Rajineda, is static. It's narrowly defined by the mandate of nation welfare, which makes all the personal drama just a distraction from duty.
And if we connect all the dots, this is perhaps the most unique aspect of the source material. We have a spiritual journey seeking zero attraction of the world.
Which leads directly to highly practical, ethical advice for leadership in the highly attracted world of politics.
Exactly. The wisdom sought through self-discovery is channeled directly into public communication principles. It suggests that true political strength comes from internal stability and detachment, not from external domination or rhetorical aggression. It's a handbook for leadership built on philosophical principles, not campaign tactics.
Absolutely. Which leaves us with a provocative final thought for you, the listener, as you reflect on these principles.
The source defines the intelligent politician as one who only work and not waste his time on talk. This flips the modern perception of political necessity, which relies on constant media engagement and debate, completely on its head. If the measure of true leadership is silence on past work and an exclusive focus on future positive action, how would our political landscape fundamentally change if we only allowed candidates to speak about what they intend to do, not what others have done or what the opposition is currently saying?
What would a society led only by workers, not talkers, truly look like? Food for thought indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the mind of the legend and the high ethical bar set for public communication. Go forth and apply the principles of unity, vision, and measured tone, whether you're leaving a nation or just a crucial meeting.